In this video, I am going to install a herringbone tile, boom, as a backsplash in this rustic modern bathroom. Now, this is 2.5 by 24, so it's gonna be some really delicate detailed work, but I got a simple way to get it done. So stay with us and I'll show you all my tips and tricks, and you can be a tile master too. So because this product is officially going on a wall and it's not in a wet area, we're just going with an adhesive. This is OmniGrip. This particular adhesive is available at your local building store, and it has a really good bonding strength. So it's got enough bonding strength to hold this tile in place on the wall. Having said that, we're going to be using spacers just to help make sure all of our grout lines are very consistent. Now, here's a secret number one. When you buy spacers for your tile job, get two different sizes. I got 1/16 and 1/8. The reason for that is simple. Sometimes when you're tiling, you need to change the grout line in order to finish. So in this particular case, we measured it out a little bit in advance, and we found that we might be just perfect herringbone finish to the edge of the wall if we go with the 1/16 spacer. Now, if that doesn't end up working out, I also got the 1/8 in case I need it, but it's good to have options. Now, of course, if you're a fan of the channel, you've seen my videos before, you know I love my laser, and we're gonna just throw that on here. I've already made my center line. You'll see that it's in line with my box, which of course is gonna be in the center of my light. And I like to install everything very, very symmetrical, especially in a bathroom. Small spaces, you cannot afford to work left to right. You gotta start in the middle and work your way out. So now I got my line established, that is good. The trick, of course, with herringbone is that it overlaps. So you've got to decide, what's your center line? Is it the point, or is it halfway through the tile where it overlaps? That's the magic. Visually, that point is going to be the center, whether you like it or not. So, if I install my tile like this and like this on that center line, visually that's stunning, okay? But this is what happens over here. Boom, perfect finish, right? And that is what we're going for. So, the trick with herringbone is you don't want to start at the bottom row, because that's all a little bunch of little cut pieces. You want to start with your full tile, and you want to get the full dimension all laid out and squared in. So what we're going to use is a few of these little wood screws, okay? And we're going to put some adhesive on the wall. We're going to get our first 4 tiles in place, and we're going to use our framing square because it's already got a perfect 45 on it. We're going to set that on our level countertop and then install all of our stone based on that. Flush to that and flush to the counter, and that'll be my line, okay? So I can install that stone like that anywhere I want, and it'll be absolutely perfect. Now, in order to apply our adhesive, we are using this trowel here. This is a 1/4 by 1/4 square notch trowel. It does a great job of spreading a nice bead of adhesive that also doesn't put too much on the wall, so when you press your stone into it, it doesn't come squeezing out between the tile. One other thing you want to consider when you're doing a project like this is the total square footage of the space. We have 26.5 square feet from the countertop to the ceiling, so that's what we're going to cover. So I bought exactly 26.5 square feet of stone. The danger being, it's not going to be enough with all the little cuts to cover the whole space, but I'm cheating to save some money because this stone was crazy expensive. And I know that my mirror is going to be this big. Okay, I just drew that out with my marker. So I don't need to fill the whole thing up. I want to leave a hole in the wall here on purpose so that I can still fish my wire up to the box so I can bring my low voltage power to the mirror so that it doesn't fog up. There we go. So to get started, I'm going to just trowel in the general vicinity of where I know that tile's going to go. And then I'll clean up as I go here. We're going to just kind of guesstimate for now. All right, we'll set our tiles on. That's gonna need a little bit more here, I think. And you see how that holds it? That actually holds the tile off the counter without any difficulty at all. Now what I don't know is if this is a perfect 45 yet, so that's what I have to take care of right now. Now I always love to have a little bit of cardboard on my countertops when I'm working, just to help protect my surface. Okay, so here we go. Now, I have to change my angle first. That's my 45. Okay. Rough me there, but I want to get this on my center line, right? So now we'll slide it over. Okay. Almost perfect. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Now the first couple of tiles are going to be the most difficult and the messiest. Keep everything nice and clean while you're working, because it's going to be probably about a couple of hours before we get back to this area down here. We don't want to have dried up glue building up in the corners. It's hard to clean out afterwards. Like I said, we got our 1/16 spacers. We'll get those out now. Let's continue on with our pattern. We want to take it from here and then upwards towards the wall. So this is where it gets interesting. Remember we talked about where the center line is on this, and that peak generally is where the center line is? Visually, that looks like the center. But the truth of it is, the center is right here. It's down the middle of this. So when I put this on the wall, I'm coming shy of the wall over here by 1 inch, and this tile doesn't fit. So I have a choice to make. Depending on the situation, if you have a traditional sink and a center faucet, and you offset this a little bit, you're going to run into a design issue where it's going to look silly having all of the peaks to the side of the faucet. Like you can just imagine if your faucet's here and it's all off 1 inch, okay? It might look silly. But for me, because I'm using a stone sink and my faucet's already offset, my mirror's so huge, I really don't have a center line issue to deal with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually send that over off the wall, and I'm going to reposition all of my tile so that I can finish wall to wall centered with a full stone over here as well. Wow, that's going to be amazing. Okay. Let's get this under here for now. I like that. This is where using these 1/16 spacers comes in really handy, just to make sure that we got everything the way we want it. Now, let's see if we can get the last piece of our initial design in place here. Like, this is nuts. The fact that this is going to work is crazy. Let's just get this one in now. Now, we know this doesn't happen every time, and this is a little bit crazy, but like, that's a perfect W. That's new wow factor. All right, yeah. So we got lucky for the purpose of this video. This actually worked out really well. In this particular situation, this is a 5.5 foot wall. So consider that if you're gonna get these 23 3/4 tiles. Wow. I might have to remember that math for the future. This is a great design element. Now, if it doesn't fit, of course you have to cut the edges on both sides, right? Balance it out. Because in this situation, if, let's say this tile was a little bit too long, and I started with full pieces there, and this side had all the cuts, it would start to look a little bit odd. So you really want to balance it out. But you can see that my center line travels through both of these tiles, because that's the true center, even though the tip of the W is offset. Anyway, just a little tip there. Let's get on with applying the adhesive. And of course, the secret here to doing this is get some of these tiles in play first, right? You don't want to go too far with filling up all the little bits until you actually have your pattern established. Visually, it's really easy to make a mistake when you're doing this. So we want to just start filling in all of these gaps. All right, let's get the next few rows in at least here. This tile is actually against the wall and against the counter. It's not going anywhere. So we just got to continue our pattern now. Set it in nice and tight. Grab your spacer. Right? One there and one down here. And then one here. Now I know that this particular adhesive will do most of the work, but especially for now, in the early stages, we want to just be extra careful. Now, one of the benefits of using adhesive here instead of cement is that it cleans out a lot easier, okay? You can come back with a sponge tomorrow and clean out all of this extra adhesive. You can just get it wet and it'll wipe out, and then you can grout really easily without getting too much that residue stuck in between the tile. Okay, there we go. We'll go to the other side again. I haven't mentioned how much I love this tile, Max. So the reason I picked this tile is because I really was looking for something with a little bit of punch, right? Something with a little bit of a dramatic flair. Wow, I definitely found it. These deep, rich colors. It's just, I don't like to paint my bathrooms a dark color if I can get away with it, especially in a room without a window. So this allows me to keep my walls, even though this is a light gray, a little on the lighter side, and then put all my drama on the short walls at both ends. That makes everything really, really pretty. Okay, Matt, let's crank on the wet saw. Because the wet saw does such a good job cutting these edges, I want you to take one piece of tile, cut me a series of triangles. Now for this particular project, I'm going to be using unsanded grout, which is pretty much necessary anytime you've got a grout line this thin. Now there's an option. They have grouts out there that have a polymer additive that help dry really quick. And it's an unsanded grout as well, but it's a little bit different in that you really got to be able to work fast. And in this situation, I don't think I want to be rushed. So I'm going to be much more happy working a little slower with a standard grout and giving it time to dry properly. Look at that, see that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a screw here just to hold the weight so that it doesn't slip underneath the weight as I'm building the tile wall. So one of the ways that we're going to save on material is I'm not going to fill a lot of this area here because it's all behind the mirror. But I do need to have, this is my mirror outline, this side taken care of. Now if I cut this tile in half and put that on, it's too short. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just finish stacking these right to the ceiling. Here we go. One of these tubs with this type of trowel does around 20 to 25 square feet. It's mostly designed for kitchen backsplash, which is averages of 18 in a weird way. So we're gonna just get all that on and keep on trucking here. So what I'm going to do is, and this is how I'm cheating, right? So now I'm dropping my laser line off my corners to help keep myself in a position. Now when you're using a wet saw to do the cuts, it ends up with the same effect as if you were cutting and polishing the stone in the same move. So I can cut both directions. I can actually line this up on the ceiling, not in the adhesive, with my grout line, and then make my mark on my stone right here. Okay? That represents where this stone ends. And then I just take my square, draw that line with my marker, and I'm going to have them cut that stone for me. And then I'm going to finish off all the exposed area above here in line with these cut lines. It'll look really cool. You're going to have to trust me on this and see how it finishes. We really want to make sure that as we go, we're always establishing that 90-degree corner. And if it's out a little bit, make a minor adjustment, okay? That's really nice. Then, measuring and cutting is easy. Always measure on the long side. So you put your tape, you're pressing it up against the ceiling right where the tile will finish, and you take your measurement, you read 15.5, translate that information, right? Make our mark, and then you double check by holding it up backwards. Okay, and make sure that you've got an 1/8 plus, maybe even 2/8, maybe a full quarter there. You can split the difference and have grout line at the ceiling and at the wall. That is good. So I'm going to take my triangle now. I'm going to draw the line I want to cut on the stone so that he doesn't accidentally cut it shorter. All right, and that's how you do it so that you always end up getting exactly what you want. Always make your line on the outside of the actual stone you want to keep so you can cut that mark away. Perfect every time. Here's my next 3. So what we're doing around the box is we actually are using a grinder with a porcelain bit on it, and that gives you the ability to cut all these fancy little shapes. We want to have as tight to the box as we can so that the light fixture actually mounts over that and we don't have any holes showing. So it looks like that's going to work out really well. Here's this stone here. Bam. There's the proof that keeping everything square works. I can meet up the pattern after the fact. Like I said, this is all behind the mirror, so I'm not worried about that piece right there. When you're filling in a space like that, instead of trying to put the adhesive on the wall first, you can always put it directly onto the tile. Okay? Just got to be a little bit careful. You don't want to leave too much on there and have it squeezing out. Like I said, this is not a wet area, so 90% coverage is not necessary. Just make sure you put enough on that it actually sticks to the wall. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So I'm just putting a couple of my leftover pieces near the top because I need to have stone underneath my light fixture. Okay. Let's get all that nice and flush. If you're going to put the glue on the tile first, make sure it is nice and flush. Okay. Squeeze it all together, and then you can open them up when you're done. Create that grout space, there we go. Once it's squeezed in nice and tight like that, it'll hold itself really well. Oh. We're gonna throw a little extra support here now. Use the head of the screw. I'll show you my little secret here. If I come in on an angle here, just underneath, my head of my screw actually picks up the weight. And it'll actually pull everything nice and tight. So the next piece goes here in the pattern, and then here. So then I actually want to measure from here to that ceiling. This is one of these situations where not everything is square, right? So my tile is a perfect 45. My pattern is perfect. I end up with a gap, 0 to 0 here. And I don't want that to show. So I'm actually going to recut this angle just a little bit, closing up a little bit. Once I've cut that, then I'll get my length. Difficult to know exactly what your measurements are in some situations, especially these inside corners. So I think it's 17 and a half. I'm going to cut it at 17 and 5/8. And I can bring like this, measure, sorry. I'll put my tip down. Perfect. I love it. So now I know the angle is actually here. And I'm going to mark where I want them to cut. So here we are, we have this situation up at the top. And you have two options for doing this sort of thing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take our pattern. That's our pattern, okay? We're gonna lay it on the counter, put in our grout line, and then we're gonna measure the bottom of that line there. And that one comes in at 4 3/8, 4 1/2. We simply put our tile together and then we trace our line. So we'll start with 4 1/2 at the corner. Take my mark. And then we'll take our straight edge across both stones at once. That way, when you cut this, you're finished, nice straight line. If you measure each of these individually, you're gonna mess up that joint and it's gonna show. So when you get down to an area like this, you can actually take 3, 4, 5 stones all in the pattern, measure the outside, draw the straight line, and then cut all of those cuts at the same time. That'll really speed the process up. That gets you a perfect cut, but more importantly, it makes sure that the grain of the tile is going in the right direction. If you're not careful and you just use an offcut, you'll end up with the grain always heading in the same direction, and it always looks funny from a distance. It's amazing how a little detail like the grain of that stone can make such a huge difference. Be real careful around your drywall corners because they're not going to be perfectly 90. I like to throw a little dollop of adhesive in the middle of the stone so I can balance it and wiggle it around. Get it all nice and smoothed out. Okay. Well, there we go. That's going to look pretty good. Now listen, I understand that this is not a complete wall. Finishing the wall is simple, but I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to run into difficulty with not having enough stone. So I have to have a hole in the wall here anyway because I'm going to bring this feed here for my heated mirror. So next is I'm going to drill the hole. We're going to let this dry and then we're going to grout this as well. So stay tuned because we're going to grout this in this video because we're going to show some tips and tricks for doing that sort of thing and how to get a nice finished look. And if you like this kind of content, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget, if you're interested in learning a lot about renovations and you've got some major projects coming up, we have a members program, so hit the join button, take a look at that. I make myself a lot more available nowadays to people who are looking to get lots of information, have questions about their own projects. All right, so we'll see you back in a couple hours, or in your case, just a couple seconds, and we'll get back to grouting. Now here's a special message for everybody who's looking at this wall going, what the hell? We're gonna be hanging a huge mirror here, and I need access to this string because this is my feeder line for my low voltage wire that goes to the heating system behind my mirror so it doesn't fog up. So the reality is I could have installed the mirror first and actually tiled around it, but that would look a little ridiculous, and this is easier to function this way. This way I can keep my lines perfect, I can fill all my gaps, and I'm gonna have a really perfect look when I'm done. So this is why I've done what I've done. No need to install tile here. I needed to have this hole. So since it's not gonna be a perfect finished wall, no matter what I do, it's just the way I roll. Anyway, we have been a few hours and the glue is all dry. One of the benefits of using a high performance adhesive is that you can grout at the end of the day without any delay. It just rhymed weird. All right. I just generally pull these out and then save them, put them back in the package where they came from. Have a pair of pliers handy. If any of them are giving you any trouble because they're actually embedded in some adhesive, then you can just yank them out like that, right? Not a big deal. The process here is pull the plastics, give it a wash, make sure we don't have any adhesive on the surface or trapped in the corners, and then we're going to put our grout in and wait about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll wash it right off. Then we're going to see how it looks in. Right. Well, one of the benefits of herringbone is that all the tile's already on a 45 degree. So all you have to do is go straight up and down and straight left and right. And you've got all your angles proper. Tippy toe time. Don't forget, one of the advantages of having all your finished paintwork that's about 2 days old is that you can wash the grout off as part of the process without damaging the walls. One of the reasons why the tile guy is the only guy to come into the new home build before the other flooring guy comes. So it goes tile after the painter, which is amazing when you think about it. And of course, because this is a 1/8 grout line, or sorry, 1/16, we're using an unsanded grout. The gaps would be just too small to get the sanded grout to work. Now I'm going to finish off at my ceiling with the concave part of the float. The goal here is to leave a little bit of grout filling that gap. And then I'm going to use a translucent silicone or clear at the top so that you don't have an ugly silicone line. There we go. So you really want to make sure you fill all those little gaps up there when you're using that process. I just found when you add white silicone onto a white ceiling, it looks like trash because the ceiling is a flat white, the silicone is a shiny white. So using the clear silicone instead of the white just gives you a better look. It makes the tile work the star. It doesn't draw attention to itself. It's funny, you know, Max. Getting all OCD about this. Truth is, I only need to grout about 1 foot perimeter on the outside of this thing. That's all you're ever going to see. Okay, so when you're done, make sure you clean it off with the grout float as best you can. Makes it a lot easier to wash the tile afterwards. Now, this obviously is not a comprehensive tutorial on how to grout, but if you'd like to see one, we're going to have a link to a video in the description below. We have a comprehensive how to grout. We did it in a tub shower surround. Great video. Lots of information in there if you're learning how to do all this stuff for the first time. Now, unsanded grout, when you mix it thick like I just did, has a benefit you can wash right away if you're careful. Just one pass though. If you wash it more than once, you're going to wash all of the dye out of the mix, and it won't be the color that you thought it was supposed to be. Right, now that we're washed, there's still a couple things we have to do. We need quality control. So you take a little blob of your grout left over from your pail, and you really want to just go through this really small area at a time, focusing real hard, and don't just look down, actually get down. Get right, and see, here we go. Okay, so we just take this little bit and smudge it in. There's one there, and leave it messy. Here we go. Okay, now just leave that sit for a few minutes to set up, and then we'll come back and give it a wipe. And the reason you do it ugly like that is so that you can find it later. Nothing worse than coming back and going, oh, I missed a bump. Because then you're gonna have to sand it and grind it. It's just a lot of work. So leave it messy, give it 5 minutes, wipe it up. And then when all of the grout is nice and dry on the surface, then you can come along and go with your clear silicone and seal up all 4 edges. Anytime you're changing a surface plane, you want to add some silicone. And when that's all finished, your backsplash is done. All you gotta do is hang your light and mirror. Good to go. It is really humid in here. For some reason, it always seems to be raining when we're doing a grout job. Unbelievable. So we're gonna get a fan in here and blow this up for about 10-15 minutes, get the surface dry so we can show you how to finish this off. So in today's video, I'm installing a huge mirror on a tiled wall. But the cool thing about it is the fact that it's gonna have a heating system in behind it so that it never fogs up from the use of a shower. So really all you need is your laser level that everyone should own by now. If you don't, you can check it out on Amazon. We have our link in the description. You can buy one there. And some painter's tape, and a couple of measuring and cutting tools. It's not that tricky. I'm just gonna throw a piece of tape on the back of my mirror because I wanna get all my measurements. Okay? I set my mirror on my counter and I can measure my space to the ceiling. I got 23 inches. I also have a light going to be going in here, so I want to double check. If I split the difference, 11.5, it's a little too close. So I'm going to go with 12-inch clearance on the top, which makes an 11-inch clearance on the bottom. So I'm going to go plus 11 inches from where I'm sitting. Okay? And my mirror comes with these 2 hangers. And what we're going to do is just use simple wall plug system. We're going to drill through the tile, install a couple of these wall plugs. All right, and each of these will carry 80 pounds, so that's not going to be a problem. Now, the trick here is to get it centered. So what I want to do is put a measurement on my mirror is 48. Mark my center on the mirror. And I want to measure my wall. It's going to be 68.5. That's 34.25. And I recommend writing down every one of your numbers as you go along. All right, now I know the center line is roughly underneath this center of this box because we centered that as well. So 34.25. We're going to go here. I'm going to mark my center line. And there we go. So that's going to be my center line. I'll measure left and right from. Okay. So now I'm physically going to line my center line of my mirror roughly where that is. Perfect. And I'll take some tape now, put it on the wall, right above my mounts. Okay, now I am going to measure plus 11 inches from this will be the top of the mirror. And that's what we want, the top of the mirror mark, plus 11 inches. Okay, now we're going to measure down on each side because we don't know if the mirror mounts are actually hung level. So on the right side, it's 4 inches. On this side, it's a little bit more. So that 4 inches translates over to here because we're going to be turning it around. This is going to be the height of where I put my hole. And over here, I'm going to be measuring down 4 inches and a bit. Okay. Now I have no idea why I've got a laser level involved with this. And once again, we're going to work off our center lines to measure our locations here, okay? So I put my tape measure there. It's 22 3/8, so I'm going to measure from here. 22 3/8. Right there, it's 22 1/4, which is why it's important to do this. Now at the end of the day, if your measurements are out a 32nd of an inch or so, it's not the end of the world, okay? Here we go. Now we're gonna put this on low speed and on hammer drill because I don't like to waste my time. Yes, I'm gonna burn through the bit a little prematurely, but I like to get things done. Look at that. You know, that's a perfect point here. For years, people have been telling me, you know, you can't use a glass and tile bit on high speed with hammer drill. I mean, why not? It works. It's quick. Yeah, it's a little noisy, but if it bothers you, you can wear hearing protection. There we go. Now, I use a quarter inch glass and tile bit. And this one here, it's from Bosch. It's pretty decent. It's got a little bit of life left in it. We're gonna use it for hanging our glass door in our shower next. There we go. Now, I buy my plastic wall plugs with the screws in the same kit, so I know they're gonna work. They got a nice big head on them. It'll hook onto that, no problem. All right, tape measure, love it. This is my rubber hammer. As far as the depth is concerned, you only need to have enough space between the back of the head of the screw and the tile for this to fit in snug, and it'll help hold the mirror in place. So don't leave it out hanging out too far. Okay. Now because we're making videos here, I still have to install my sink and my tap, and if I mount this mirror first, it's gonna be really difficult to get that job done. So we're gonna put this aside for a second, finish the plumbing, we'll finish this video right now. So here's our mirror, and this is our lovely little mirror pad with a heating cable. This is a peel and stick scenario. I wish it was going to be easier to get started, but here we go. Really want to get this lined up relatively in the middle. And then we can just peel off the rest of that. The best part about this system is it's peel and stick. And now our wiring is hooked up to our light, so it's guaranteed to be fog free. We're going to put the link in the description for how you can contact these products. They are amazing. Now all we have to do is just open up these little rings here and fiddle it around for a minute or two until we find the mounting locations. Hey, and that side. All right. So there's only one other thing I want to try to do. And this might seem crazy, but when you have a mirror that's this huge just hanging on two screws, it's awfully wobbly. So what I'm going to suggest is you take some two-sided tape and you put it on the back of the mirror. And then you peel that extra side off. And we're going to actually use a little adhesive and attach it to the stone. Okay, here we go. So what you need to remember is that because we're on these two screws, if you just pull the top away from the wall just a little bit, then it's going to change the height of the mirror. See that? Pull the top away, then you let the bottom in, press that tape into the wall. Okay? Now it's not carrying all the weight, but it's going to just hold it in position so that now those screws are going to carry the weight and it won't be wobbly. Now that that tape is installed, we can wash this mirror without having it wobbling all over the place. That is awesome. Okay, now if you like this kind of content, guys, give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to ask your questions in the comments section. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, then do so. We're making new videos every week to help homeowners out. Click right here if you'd like to see the playlist for this entire bathroom, because this project is a lot of fun and you can do this for yourself.